So this video is the video series to go along with the nutritional blog series that I've done out for you already. So if you haven't read that blog series, it's kind of like a precursor to these videos, which should be underneath in the comments below. But let's get dived into level 3, where I talk about the whole calorie targets and macronutrient targets that you probably will eventually need to get onto at some stage if you're really serious about toning up, dropping body fat for the long run. Because if you're into a stage where you're plateauing, this is what you might need to do from here. So I'm back with the trusted little whiteboard again, and hopefully you can see it properly. But if we go back to like level 1 and level 2 of that blog series, in level 1 all I was talking about here was basically tidying up your diet, eating more real foods, focusing more on protein intake, the basic stuff, hydration intake, those fundamentals that kind of are a very, very easy starting point to get started with. Level 2 then, once you're kind of past that stage, we talk about going to working out carbs, proteins and fats with your hand sizes. Because this is something you'll always keep and learn for life, because once you know, let's say, once you go into level 3, then you can always relate back to level 2 for yourself for long term, provided you don't lose both your hands, hopefully. Touch wood. So with level 3 then, let's just say if you're somebody who you've tidied up your diet, you've stuck to clean eating for a while, but you're just not really getting anywhere anymore. Yeah, you lost a good bit of weight at the start, but you're still carrying a bit of a gut, let's say for example, but you want to get a lot leaner than you are now. And even along with that as well, more performance in the gym too, because a lot of people kind of forget about the performance aspects of it, and once you kind of focus a bit more on that, it just makes the whole process a bit more enjoyable as well. So with level 3, this is all about working on calorie and macronutrient targets for yourself. Now look, at this video and even the blog series that I've done out is a generic kind of way of looking at it. You can never be fully accurate with these things anyway. Like, we're working out these results here based off an activity multiplier, whereas if I was doing this with someone in real life, we can start with this, which is fine, we'll tweak it from there, which is what we do with a lot of our members here. We do it a different way to this, but if you wanted to get super in detail with it, you would track body weight for a period of 2 weeks at a time, and then you can base your calorie targets then off that and see where you're going from there. But basically, this is going to accompany the blog, so if you're unsure of anything, go back into the blog to see where I got these numbers from. But let's take, for example, a 200-pound male. So let's just say this is me, for example, right? And I've been eating gum by my hand sizes for a while now. And in order for me to get a bit more in detail, to keep the fat loss coming, we'll say, and keep dropping pounds of body fat each week, I need to see where my calorie intakes are at. I need to see where my proteins are at, carbs and fats, and my overall calorie intake for the day. So let's just pretend that I'm somebody who's in the gym 2 to 3 times a week. We'll say 3 times a week. I might be hurling training twice outside, or a bit of cardio work twice outside that. But then in between those days, I'm sitting at a desk. I'm at a desk job all day. So for this person, this is where we got this activity level out of. But again, that is in the blog, if you're unsure of where that came from. So I'm picking 12 for this. We multiply 200 by 12, we'll get a 2,400 calorie intake for the day. Now, hypothetically speaking, if I eat 2,400 calories 7 days a week, I should be down in body fat at the end of the week, provided that's in enough of a calorie deficit and I'm expanding enough energy with my training throughout the week to drop body fat. So that's where that comes from. That is why when you get specific with this stuff, it keeps the results flowing, okay? Now, when you start to do this though, we'll talk about tracking it in a minute, but next step is once you have your calorie intake, you need to work out your protein being the number 1 most important thing. And a very, very easy way for doing this, without getting too much deep into the science, again, it's all in the blog if you want to go through that. I'm setting protein here at 1 gram per pound of body weight. The only exception here is that if somebody's carrying a lot of weight, we don't need to set it that high, we can set it down a little bit lower just to put that in there. So in this case, 1 gram per pound is 200 pounds, is 200 grams of protein a day. Where did I get the fat from? Again, go back into the blog if you want to get the specifics, but I set it at 0.45 grams per pound of body weight, so that's 90 grams of fat. And all you do then is to get your carb intake for the day, so your protein, fat and carbs is what's going to make up your calorie intake. That is from the leftovers of the protein and the fat, if that makes sense. So here's this kind of jumble box here is. So protein is 4 calories per gram, so you can see here 200 by 4 is equal to 800 calories. Fat is 9 calories per gram, so 90 multiplied by 9 is 810. When we add those up, we come with 1610, right? When you take away 1610 calories from 2400, you're left with 790 calories. We know that carbs is 4 calories per gram as well, so once we divide 790 in this case by 4, we get 197.5 grams of carbs. So now we know our macronutrients for the day. I know you might seem lost in a bit of way of that, but that's just how you work out the numbers, would say, side of it, okay? Now, once you've that done, you know you have 2,400 calories to hit daily. You know you've roughly in the range of 200 grams of fat, or 200 grams of protein, 90 grams of fat, and 197.5 grams of carbs. Now, one main caveat of this is like, this is just a starting point. It's probably going to be off, so it's going to need to be tweaked as the weeks go on. Don't beat yourself up if you're not hitting like macronutrient targets like that. We always tell everyone here, as long as you're even in 10 to 20 grams of each one, you're fine. Like, so if you're hitting 180 grams of protein one day and you hit 200 another day, it doesn't really matter. These are things that never really hit perfect anyway. So from there, what you do to track all this, you have that, you know, if you hit that 7 days a week, again, go back to the blog if you want to get a bit more in detail, because it makes a lot more sense. But tracking that then is very, very simple. You use MyFitnessPal on your phone. It's a very, very self-explanatory app. You can type foods into the database on the phone. You can scan barcodes, but the caveat to that is as well, you're going to have to weigh food. There's no other way. You're not going to learn what's in the food if you don't weigh it. The best thing about this though, if you're somebody who has a busy job, kids and family life, and you just don't really see that yourself doing that, number one, you need to get real with yourself. How otherwise are you going to learn principles for life if you don't? Yes, somebody can follow a meal plan, but they're not going to learn as much as they can after that if they do this stuff. Because if you track, let's say, and weigh foods religiously for 2 weeks, you're going to learn a lot about what's in foods. If you do that right, let's say, you can go back to the hand sizes and judge, right, what does the chicken breast look compared to your hand size? What does the rice you've been using, the porridge you've been using, or the veg? You know, you can judge that off your hand sizes once you have those weighed up. Because I know for myself, if I cup a handful of basmati rice, for example, or whatever rice it is, it usually ends up around 30 grams of rice for me. But again, I know that from weighing foods, tracking MyFitnessPal, so I can do things on the fly like that. So don't think that this is just a fucking calorie counting thing that you're going to stick to for life. It doesn't have to be. Again, if you're someone who's younger, you don't mind doing this stuff. Like myself, I don't mind doing it daily. But again, if you're somebody who's in a different position, you might find this a bit overwhelming your days. But again, don't think it's a long-term thing that you have to do every single day, because you don't. So track that MyFitnessPal and weighing app. But again, as I said, this is only a starting point. Tweaks are going to have to be made. But this is for someone if you're wondering how do you work with calorie intake and where do you get started with it. It is a very rough example, but as I said, go back to that blog if you're serious about learning this stuff properly. But hopefully it was just an introduction to show you the levels of nutritional stuff and where you can get started with level 1 and progress to level 2 and level 3. And I have an in-detail 4-part blog series already done that, which I'm probably going to add to it as well on those levels and the flexibility aspect of it too, which I'm not going to go into now for this video because it's gone on too long already. But look, if you like it, give it a thumbs up, give it a share, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to stay tuned for more, because I'm popping out these videos weekly, and we'll chat to you soon.